Welcome back, folks, to Broadcasting Seeds, the podcast where we plant the seeds of thought in the fertile soil of your curiosity. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we're headed deep into the shadowy corners of America's wilderness. You know, the places where the trees whisper secrets, the air feels just a little too heavy, and the shadows move when they shouldn't. Now let me set the scene for you. Imagine you're out on a quiet country road at dusk. The sun's dipping below the horizon, and there's just enough light to make out shapes in the distance. You see something, big, hunched, and with a gait that doesn't quite sit right. It's not a dog, not a wolf, and definitely not the neighbor's mangy cat. No, what you're looking at is something out of a cryptozoologist's fever dream. A creature that looks suspiciously like a hyena. But this isn't the Serengeti, my friends. This is middle of nowhere America. Yes, today we're talking about the American hyena, a cryptid so strange, so eerie, and so downright wrong that it's been described as a bad Photoshop job brought to life. And yet this creature has been spotted over centuries, from the Appalachian foothills to the wide-open plains of the Midwest. So what gives? Is this thing a flesh and blood animal, a relic of prehistoric megafauna, or brace yourselves, a manifestation of something far stranger? In this episode, we're going to dig into the history, the sightings, the science, or lack thereof, and the cultural impact of this mysterious predator. And of course, we're going to ask the big questions. Are we dealing with a real animal? Or is this yet another case of folklore meeting reality in the weirdest possible way? So buckle up, because we're heading into uncharted territory. Get ready to explore the facts, the theories, and the mysteries surrounding the American hyena. By the end of this episode, you might just find yourself looking over your shoulder the next time you're out in the woods. Let's start at the beginning. Well, as much of a beginning as we can pin down when it comes to cryptids. The story of the American hyena isn't one that starts with a single dramatic encounter, like Bigfoot stomping through the Pacific Northwest or the Mothman haunting Point Pleasant. Instead, the American hyena emerges from a patchwork of legends, historical accounts, and those all too common "I swear I wasn't drunk" stories told around campfires. The first whispers of hyena-like creatures in North America seem to date back centuries. Native American folklore speaks of strange predators prowling the edges of their territories. These weren't wolves, bears, or the usual suspects of the animal kingdom. Instead, they were described as powerful scavengers with sloped backs, long necks, and a howl that could send shivers down your spine. Sound familiar? Fast forward to the 18th and 19th centuries, when European settlers started writing down their encounters with the wilderness. Among their tales of wolves stealing livestock and bears raiding camps, there are odd mentions of creatures that didn't fit into any known category. These accounts describe beasts that were dog-like but not dogs, wolves but not quite wolves. Farmers in the Appalachians and beyond told stories of seeing hunched creatures stalking their herds, often under the cover of darkness. Here's where things get interesting. Hyenas, as we know them, are native to Africa and parts of Asia. So what's a hyena-like creature doing skulking around the forests and fields of North America? Some early settlers believed they were seeing escaped exotic pets, a plausible explanation, given that people in the 19th century loved collecting animals they had no business owning. Others speculated they might be remnants of prehistoric creatures like the ancient chasmoporthids, a species of hyena that actually did roam North America during the Pleistocene epoch. But then we have the truly weird theories. Some people believe the American hyena is more than just an animal. They argue it's a supernatural entity, a shapeshifter, or even a harbinger of doom. In certain Appalachian communities, seeing a hyena-like creature was thought to be a bad omen, one that often preceded disaster or death. Now, legends are one thing, but sightings are another, and that's where we're headed next. Because it's one thing to dismiss old stories as the product of overactive imaginations, but when modern eyewitnesses start describing the same sloped back and glowing eyes in the dead of night, you have to wonder if there's more to this story than just folklore. If the legends were the appetizer, the sightings are the main course. The American hyena hasn't faded into folklore obscurity like some cryptids do. This creature has allegedly been spotted in modern times, and the accounts are chilling. Let's start in the Appalachian Mountains. These ancient hills are a hotspot for strange activity, and the American hyena is no exception. One of the most striking reports comes from a hunter in West Virginia in the early 2000s. While tracking deer just before dusk, he claims to have spotted a creature crouching near a stream. At first, he thought it was a bear, or maybe a large dog. But as he got closer, he noticed the unmistakable hyena features, the sloped back, the muscular frame, and that eerie, predatory gait. When the creature noticed him, it let out a guttural growl, locking eyes with him before vanishing into the underbrush. Then there are the sightings in the Midwest, where the wide-open plains provide plenty of room for a creature like this to roam. In Kansas, a farmer reported losing several sheep to what he initially thought was a pack of coyotes. But one night, while checking his property, he spotted a lone creature under the glow of a full moon. It was hunched over one of his sheep, tearing into its carcass with brutal efficiency. He swore it looked like a hyena, but bigger, more muscular, and with fur so dark it seemed to absorb the light. And let's not forget the suburbs. Yes, even the outskirts of towns and cities have had their fair share of creepy encounters. In the 1980s, a man in Pennsylvania reported seeing a hyena-like animal dart across the road in front of his car. He described its fur as mangy, its eyes glowing in the headlights, and its movement as disturbingly smooth, almost unnatural. It wasn't a deer, it wasn't a dog, and it definitely wasn't something he wanted to get out and investigate. The internet, of course, has added fuel to the fire. Online forums and social media are rife with amateur reports, blurry photos, and videos of unidentified creatures. Some claim to have heard eerie hyena-like laughter echoing in the woods at night, a sound that's enough to make even the most skeptical among us reconsider camping trips. But here's the kicker. While many of these sightings share similar details, there's rarely any solid evidence. No bodies, no definitive tracks, no DNA samples, just accounts from people who swear they saw something that defies explanation. So what are we dealing with here? A real flesh and blood animal? A case of mass hysteria fueled by the internet? Or is this something stranger? Something that doesn't leave behind the kind of evidence we expect? Next up, we're diving into the theories. We'll explore what cryptozoologists, biologists, and skeptics have to say about the American hyena and whether it could actually exist. Now that we've set the stage with legends and sightings, let's tackle the theories. Because let's face it, every cryptid enthusiast loves a good what if. First, Let's start with the most grounded idea. The American hyena could be a relic species from the Pleistocene epoch. During this time, North America was home to a hyena species known as Chasmoporthetes, nicknamed the running hyena. Unlike its modern African relatives, this prehistoric predator was built for speed and lived in open grasslands, making it an apex scavenger and occasional predator. Its fossils have been found as far south as Mexico and as far north as the southern United States. Could the American hyena be a surviving pocket population of this ancient species? It's an exciting idea, but there's a problem. The fossil record suggests Chasmoporthetes went extinct over 1 million years ago. That's a long time for any species to survive undetected. Next, we have the cryptozoological crowd's favorite theory. The American hyena is an undiscovered species of large carnivore. This theory hinges on the idea that North America's vast wilderness, particularly regions like the Rockies, the Appalachians, and the Great Plains, could still harbor unknown creatures. After all, biologists discover new species every year, even in less remote areas. However, skeptics point out that a predator as large as a hyena would need a significant population to sustain itself, and with that comes the likelihood of more definitive evidence: bones, scat, or clear photographs. Another plausible explanation is that these sightings are the result of misidentifications. Coyotes with mange are a prime candidate. Mange can cause severe hair loss, making the animal appear gaunt and misshapen, almost hyena-like. Combine that with the eerie glow of eyeshine in a flashlight or car headlights, and it's easy to see how a frightened observer might mistake a mangy coyote for something more sinister. Other suspects include wolves, feral dogs, and even escaped exotic pets. Remember, hyenas are occasionally kept in private zoos or by exotic animal enthusiasts, some of whom aren't exactly known for their safety measures. But let's not stop there. This is Broadcasting Seeds, after all, and we're here to plant some unconventional ideas, too. Some theorists propose that the American hyena could be a cryptid with supernatural origins. Stories of shapeshifters, skinwalkers, and other entities capable of mimicking animals are common in Native American folklore. Could these sightings be glimpses of something that isn't a hyena at all, but a spiritual or interdimensional being taking on its form? And then there's the wild card, the idea that the American hyena is a genetically engineered or hybrid creature. With advances in genetic modification and the shadowy reputation of certain scientific organizations, it's not entirely out of the question to consider the possibility of human involvement. What if this cryptid isn't natural at all, but the product of someone or something tinkering where they shouldn't? So we've got ancient survivors, undiscovered species, mangy coyotes, supernatural entities, and mad science. Each theory has its champions, and each has its flaws. But what does science have to say about all of this? That's what we'll tackle next, as we dig into the evidence, or lack thereof, and examine why hard proof is so elusive when it comes to the American hyena. Let's talk about the elephant, or should I say hyena, in the room. Evidence. When it comes to proving the existence of the American hyena, we've got plenty of stories, but not much in the way of hard scientific proof. Why is that? Is this creature truly that elusive, or are we just barking up the wrong tree? First, let's consider what kind of evidence we'd expect to find for a large predator like the American hyena. Tracks, scat, Hair samples and even carcasses are the usual suspects when scientists investigate known animals. Yet for the American hyena, these things are conspicuously absent. Sure, some people have claimed to find unusual tracks or tufts of fur, but these rarely stand up to scrutiny. Either they turn out to belong to a known species, or they mysteriously disappear before any proper analysis can be done. Then there's photographic and video evidence, or the lack thereof. Despite everyone carrying a camera in their pocket these days, the best we've gotten are a handful of blurry photos and shaky videos that could just as easily depict a coyote with mange as a cryptid. It's frustrating, isn't it? You'd think that by now someone would have captured a crystal clear image. But then again, the same could be said about Bigfoot, and we all know how that's going. Skeptics often point to Occam's razor here. The simplest explanation is usually the right one. If we haven't found concrete evidence of the American hyena, they argue, it's because it doesn't exist. Instead, they chalk up the sightings to misidentifications, hoaxes, and the power of suggestion. After all, once a story gets rolling, people start seeing what they expect to see or what they want to see. But here's where things get interesting. Some researchers suggest that the lack of evidence might not be a sign that the creature doesn't exist, but rather that it's exceptionally good at avoiding detection. Predators like wolves and mountain lions are notoriously elusive, even in areas where we know they live. Add to that the remote, rugged landscapes where many American hyena sightings occur, and it's not entirely unreasonable to think a small population could remain hidden. And then there's the wild card factor. What if this creature doesn't leave behind typical evidence? If we entertain the more out there theories, like the idea that the American hyena is supernatural or interdimensional, it could explain why physical evidence is so hard to come by. Creatures that slip between dimensions or exist outside our normal understanding of biology might not leave tracks, bones, or any of the usual signs. Finally, let's not forget the human factor. Some theorists believe that any solid evidence of the American hyena might be deliberately covered up, whether by the government, private organizations, or some other shadowy group. This idea suggests that the truth is out there, but someone doesn't want us to find it. Sound far-fetched? Maybe. But stranger things have happened. At the end of the day, the absence of evidence isn't necessarily the evidence of absence, but it does leave us with a big question mark and a lot of room for speculation, which brings us to our final segment, the impact of this cryptid on culture, psychology, and the human imagination. Why does the American hyena matter, and what does it tell us about ourselves? So, why does the American hyena matter? It's not like anyone's debating cryptid conservation policy in Congress, and yet this creature has embedded itself in folklore, modern sightings, and our cultural psyche. What is it about this cryptid, and cryptids in general, that keeps us fascinated generation after generation? First, let's talk about fear. Humans have an evolutionary knack for keeping one eye on the shadows. That's where the danger was in our ancient past, and it's where we instinctively look for it now. The American hyena taps directly into that primal part of us. It's an apex predator, stealthy, strange, and strong enough to take down prey. The idea of something like that lurking on the edges of civilization is enough to raise the hairs on the back of anyone's neck. But fear isn't the whole story. Cryptids like the American hyena also represent the unknown, and humans are irresistibly drawn to what we can't explain. In an age where so much of the natural world has been cataloged and understood, creatures like this remind us that there's still mystery out there. They challenge our assumption that we've got it all figured out. And let's be honest, that's kind of refreshing. Then there's the cultural angle. Cryptids often serve as symbols for the fears and challenges of their time. In the case of the American hyena, you might argue it represents our unease with the wild, both literal and metaphorical. As humans push further into nature, we're reminded that the wilderness doesn't always yield to our control. The hyena is a reminder of that untamed, unpredictable side of life. But let's not overlook the role of storytelling. The American hyena thrives in the realm of campfire tales, Reddit threads, and late-night discussions with friends. Sharing these stories isn't just about spooking each other, it's about connecting. Stories like these give us a way to explore the boundaries of belief, reality, and imagination. And in a world that often feels overly rational and disconnected, that's a pretty powerful thing. Finally, let's talk about the American hyena as a metaphor. Some theorists suggest that cryptids like this one symbolize our hidden fears, both personal and societal. The sloped back, the menacing gait, the unearthly howl. Is it really the creature we're afraid of, or what it represents? Maybe the hyena is a stand-in for our anxiety about the unknown, our distrust of the edges of society, or even our fear of the wildness within ourselves. At the end of the day, the American hyena is more than just a cryptid. It's a mirror, reflecting our fears, our curiosity, and our need to believe in something bigger and stranger than ourselves. Whether it's real, misidentified, or purely imaginary, it keeps us asking questions, and that's the kind of mystery worth exploring. Well, folks, that's the end of our trail today, or at least as far as we're able to follow it. The American hyena, whether it's a prehistoric holdout, an undiscovered species, a mangy coyote, or something stranger, continues to stalk the edges of our imagination. It's one of those cryptids that keeps us looking over our shoulder, questioning the boundaries of what we know about the natural world, and maybe even the supernatural one. And isn't that the point of cryptids like this? To keep us curious, to keep us searching, and to remind us that the world still holds mysteries worth exploring. The American hyena may or may not be out there, but the questions it raises about our fears, our beliefs, and our relationship with the unknown are just as important as the creature itself. Before we go, I want to hear from you. Have you seen something you can't explain? Do you have your own theories about what's lurking in the dark? Head over to our website or hit me up on social media and let me know your thoughts. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, share, and review Broadcasting Seeds. Your support helps keep this show alive and ensures we can keep diving into the strange, the unexplained, and the downright bizarre. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and keep your eyes on the shadows. Who knows what might be watching you back? Yeah. This is Bennett Tanton, signing off from Broadcasting Seeds. See you on the next episode.
I got bad thoughts that make my mind scared, hold me hostage and they don't fight fair. Who gon' pray for me and wipe on my tears? Who gon' save me if you not right here? Move this darkness and make my sight clear. Take me away cause I don't like here. Ghosts of my past, they feeling the night air. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Trapped in my nightmares. Drowning, I'm off the deep end. Apparitions of all my demons. All my thoughts are committing treason. All alone, who gon' hear me screaming? Manifestations of my fears. regrets that stretched out for light years. Can almost touch the light, homie, it's right there. Body free but trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, don't let me drown. All the lights are